So as you know, probably pretty well, the position of state treasurer was nearly eliminated 5 years ago in the ballot vote. Why do taxpayers need this position that you're running for, and how do you rank the responsibilities of the job in terms of importance?
Well, it's not so much whether we need the treasurer's office or not. The fact is the voters had a choice whether to keep it or not, and they voted to keep it. So we have the treasurer's office. The only question is who is going to be the state treasurer. So as far as the jobs of the treasurer, there's really only one job that remains important, and that is the position on the Board of Commissioners of Public Lands. And that's a board that manages a $1.4 billion trust fund and about 77,000 acres of state land. And the profits from that income from the trust and the land are distributed around the state as aid to school libraries, mostly for technology improvement. That's about a $35 to $40 million a year aid that goes out around the state, and that's money that doesn't have to be put on the tax rolls. So it does provide some benefit to all taxpayers in the state.
Nice. What would be on your list of priorities if you're elected come November?
Well, first, as we mentioned, the voters had a choice whether to keep the office, but they didn't vote on if they wanted to expand the office. So my priority as treasurer is to make sure the office stays the way it is and doesn't expand and grow and just start grabbing more powers in the office like some of my opponent wants to do. I don't think we need to duplicate positions in the treasurer's office that are already done just as well in other agencies. I know there's been a proposal for a mortgage program. That's already done by WIDA. There's a proposal for a financial literacy program. That's already done by DFI. We don't need duplicate government programs. That just wastes money. And the other main goal I'd like to, or the other priority I have, is to make sure we're getting the highest investment return we can from our trust fund. Because again, every dollar we earn in profit, we get to send out in state aid. So if we have poor investments or have poor priorities on our investments, we're going to have less money to distribute to school districts around the state, and I think that's going in the wrong direction. I know there's been some efforts around the country by Democrats to implement something called ESG investing, environmental, social, governance guidelines, investing only in companies that meet certain social goals, which can be defined any method. My proposal is simple. Let's invest in areas which get the highest return, because that provides the most benefit for the people of Wisconsin.
Okay. What experience, you want to talk about that a little bit? Your experience do you have that lends itself to the state treasurer position? Tell people about your background.
Sure. So I'm currently an attorney, private practice. I work mostly in real estate issues, some estate planning and probate issues. So I deal with people trying to handle money and large amounts of money. And that's a good background for somebody who's trying to manage or be a board member managing investments. I've also worked in the state capitol as a legislative aide for a number of years for representative and a senator. And that gives me insight into how the legislative process actually works, how to work with legislators, and how the budget process actually works. So if there's real changes that need to be made to the treasurer's office, or any important changes that need to be made in anything that comes under the treasurer's purview, I know who to go to. I know how to get things done. And of course, I've worked in local government. I've been on a number of boards as well. Housing Authority and a Port Commission board. So I understand the role of a board member, and that's really the most important job of the treasurer remaining, to be on the board and to be a responsible board member. You see, board meetings don't usually take that much time. What takes a lot of time is the preparation ahead of time and working with people before the board meeting and after the board meeting. And that's really a skill in and of itself. If you just show up to board meetings and rubber stamp the decision staff has made, you're not really providing the oversight that the taxpayers expect.
Mm-hmm. And why should voters take interest in voting for the right candidate for the treasurer position? And then, vicely, what makes you the right candidate?
Well, the treasurer's office is interesting because it's without a doubt the lowest profile statewide office we have in Wisconsin. But it still is important because it's one of only 3 members on the Board of Commissioners of Public Land, and that's a $1.4 billion trust. So we're electing one of the 3 people in this office to handle that huge amount of money. So even though it doesn't sound like a lot, it can have huge impacts because that money was built up since the creation of our state. And if we spend that money unwisely or if we don't get the proper returns, we're never getting that money back. So we need somebody in the treasurer's role who's going to be focused on getting the best returns for taxpayers with that trust fund. And that's somebody who doesn't have to worry about or focus on other issues or have some other type of agenda. We need somebody who's going to focus just on the duty of the treasurer and not somebody who's going to be around the state trying to campaign for higher office or has some other agenda items. We need somebody who wants to do this job and this job alone. And that's what I'm offering the taxpayers of Wisconsin.
Nice. And then is there anything else you'd like to add for our readers of the Intercounty Leader, those listening on our digital platform this morning? Anything we didn't have a chance to cover that you'd like to share? Open the floor to you.
Well, I would say one thing. The Treasurer's Office and the Board of Commissioners of Public Lands has a special interest for Wisconsinites up north that a lot of residents, Milwaukee or Madison may not think about, and that's the 77,000 acres of state land. Most of that land is up north because it's managed forest land. So we need somebody who's going to be keeping in mind the interest of people across the state and not just in the large cities. We need somebody who's going to be focusing on what's the best use of that land and how that land can actually benefit the people in the counties where that land is held. Because right now, if a state owns land, it's not paying property taxes, so that's money off the tax roll. They've implemented a program in the budget just a few years ago where some of the land is also paying revenue back to the county where it's in. I'd like to see that expanded to make sure that if the state is owning land through this program and it's actually earning money, that it's paying its fair share to counties around the state so that nobody's hurt by this program. Nobody's hurt by the managed forest land, and everyone benefits equally. So that's something I think people, especially in the northern parts of the state, should consider when they're voting for treasurer.
Nice. Well, thanks for joining us.